Commander Jake Morrison walked through the long hallways of the UES Horizon. The ship was huge, bigger than anything humans had ever built before. It had been flying through space for 6 months. Now looking for new worlds and new life. Jake loved being in space, but sometimes he missed the feel of real wind on his face. The Horizon was humanity's first real attempt at deep space travel. 200 of Earth's best people were on board: scientists, engineers, soldiers, doctors, and explorers. They all had one dream: to find out what was waiting for them in the dark between the stars. Jake stopped at the communication room. Through the glass door he could see Lieutenant Kate Williams working at her station. Kate was young, maybe 5, with short brown hair and quick hands that never stopped moving across her control panels. She had been listening to space for months, hoping to hear something interesting. So far she had only heard the normal sounds of stars and planets. Anything new today? Jake asked as he stepped into the room. Kate looked up and shook her head. Just the usual cosmic background noise. Sometimes I think we're the only ones out here. Jake was about to leave when Kate suddenly froze. Her eyes went wide, and she pressed her headphones tighter against her ears. Wait, she whispered. There's something here. Jake moved closer. What kind of something? Kate's fingers flew over her controls. Numbers and wave patterns filled her screens. It's not natural. It says artificial. Commander, someone is sending this signal. But Jake's heart started beating faster. In 6 months of travel, this was the first sign they had found of other intelligent life. Are you sure? Positive. Look at this pattern. Kate pointed to her screen. This repeats every 37 seconds. Nature doesn't make patterns this perfect. Someone built a machine to send this. Can you tell where it's coming from? Kate worked for several minutes checking and double-checking her readings. Coming from a star system about 12 light years from here. The signal is strong, which means whoever is sending it has serious power behind it. Jake grabbed the ship's communication system. Dr. Peter Hayes to the communication room immediately. Captain Parker to the communication room. Within 5 minutes, both Dr. Hayes and Captain Lisa Parker arrived. Dr. Hayes was a thin man with gray hair who could speak 12 human languages and had studied communication theory his whole life. Captain Parker was a woman in her 40s with steel gray eyes and a reputation for making tough decisions. What do we have, Captain Parker asked. Kate played the signal over the room speakers. It sounded like music mixed with math, rising and falling in complex patterns that somehow felt important, even though none of them could understand it. Dr. Hayes listened carefully, his eyes closed in concentration. After the signal played 3 times, he opened his eyes. This is definitely a constructed language. It's a mathematical base, probably built to be understood by any intelligent species. What's it saying? Jake asked. Give me time. This is more complex than anything I've ever seen. Dr. Hayes sat down at Kate's station and began working. His fingers moved slowly at first, then faster as he began to understand the patterns. Hours passed. Jake brought coffee and food to the communication room. Other crew members stopped by to listen to the strange signal from space. Word spread quickly through the ship that they might have found proof of alien life. Dr. Hayes worked without stopping. He filled 3 screens with notes and calculations. Sometimes he would nod and smile, Other times he would frown and erase everything to start over. It's a mathematical progression, he said. After 4 hours, they start with simple concepts, 1 plus 1 equals 2, then they build up to more complex ideas. Physics, chemistry, even basic biology. Captain Parker had been watching Dr. Hayes work. But what's the message? Why are they sending this? Dr. Hayes held up one finger. Almost there. The math is just the beginning. They use it to build a language. And then his eyes went wide. Oh no, what is it? Jake asked. Dr. Hayes looked up from his work. His face was pale. It's a distress call. They're asking for help. The room went quiet. Kate turned down the volume on the signal, but they could all still hear it repeating its desperate message over and over. What kind of help, Captain Parker asked. Dr. Hayes turned back to his work, translating as fast as he could. They call themselves the world is called Val A Prime. They're under attack by something called the Korok. Their cities are being destroyed. Their people are dying. Jake felt a chill run down his back. How long has this signal been broadcasting? Basically on the signal strength and what I can understand of their time measurements, maybe 3 months. They've been calling for help for 3 months. Captain Parker was quiet for a long moment. Jake knew she was thinking about their mission. They were explorers, not soldiers. Their job was to study and learn, not to fight wars. You tell us about these, she asked. Dr. Hayes continued translating. They seem to be peaceful. The message talks about their crystal cities and gardens that float in the sky. They mention art and music and learning. This doesn't sound like a warrior culture. And the Korach raiders, nomads. They described them as destroyers who take resources and leave worlds empty. Dr. Hayes paused. Commander Captain, there's something else. They are broadcasting this message in all directions. They're not sending it to anyone specific. You're just hoping someone somewhere will hear it and come to help. Kate looked up from her station. Captain, I'm picking up other signals from that system now, weaker ones. I think some of them might be from the Korach. Captain Parker stood up and walked to the small window that looked out into space. The darkness, tiny points of light that hid entire worlds and civilizations. How long would it take us to reach their system? She asked. Kate checked her calculations. At our current speed, about 2 weeks, and we have no idea what we'd be flying into, Jake said. We don't know how many Korach ships there are. We don't know what kind of weapons they have. We don't even know if we can trust this message. Dr. Hayes looked up from his work. Commander, I've been studying this signal for hours. The mathematical base is consistent. The language structure is logical. The emotional content ... double quotes. These people are terrified. This is real. Captain Parker turned back to face the room. Jay could see her making the decision that would change everything for the crew of the Horizon. Dr. Hayes, I want you to keep working on that message. Learn everything you can about the Vani and the Korach. Kate, plot a course for their system. Call a meeting of the senior staff for 1 hour from now. Captain Jake said. Are we really going to do this? Captain Parker looked at him with those steel gray eyes. 6 months ago we left Earth to explore and to learn. We wanted to find out if we were alone in the universe. Well, now we know we're not alone. Right now someone out there needs help. She walked toward the door, then stopped. Besides, what kind of people would we be if we heard a cry for help and just kept flying after she left? The communication room was quiet, except for the alien signals coming through Kate's speakers. Jake listened to the strange sounds and wondered what they were flying toward. In 2 weeks they would find out if humanity was ready to meet the universe. The signal from Valara Prime continued to broadcast its desperate plea into the darkness, not knowing that for the first time in 3 months, someone was listening. 2 weeks later, the UES horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel. At the edge of the Valara system, Commander Jake Morrison stood on the ship's bridge looking at the main screen. What he saw took his breath away. Valara Prime was beautiful. The planet glowed with soft blue and green light. Even from space they could see the crystal cities they mentioned in their distress call. The cities looked like jewelry scattered across the planet's surface, sparkling in the light of their sun, but the beauty was broken by ugly scars. Dark patches marked with cities had been destroyed. Smoke rose from burning areas, and in orbit around the planet, Jake could see the enemy ships. Captain called Lieutenant Tom Carter from his station. I'm counting 15 hostile vessels. They're bigger than us, but their design looks crude compared to our technology. Captain Parker studied the tactical display. Any sign they've detected us? Not yet. We're still running silent, and we're at the edge of their sensor range. Moved closer to the captain. What's the plan? First, we try to contact the Dr. Hayes has been working on their language for 2 weeks. It's time to see if he can actually talk to them. Dr. Hayes was already at the communication station, his hands shaking slightly from excitement and nervousness. I think I can manage basic communication. Their mathematical base has helped me understand their grammar structure. Open a channel to the planet. Captain Parker ordered. Kate Williams worked at her controls. Channel open. Narrow beam directed at the largest remaining city. Dr. Hayes took a deep breath and began speaking in the alien language. His voice sounded strange, making the musical tones and mathematical concepts that formed words. He spoke slowly, carefully pronouncing each part of his message. They waited. Space was quiet, except for the normal sounds of the ship systems. Then Kate's station lit up with activity. Response coming in from the planet. It's strong and clear. A voice came through the speakers. It sounded like wind chimes mixed with mathematical equations. It's beautiful, but completely alien. Dr. Hayes listened carefully, sometimes nodding, sometimes looking confused. They want to know who we are. Dr. Hayes translated. They're asking if we're another raider species. Tell them we received their distress call. Tell them we're here to help. Dr. Hayes translated the message and sent it. The response came back quickly, and this time Jay could hear excitement in the alien voice. They want us to meet with their leader, someone called Zila. But Commander, they're scared, not of the raiders, but of us. What do you mean? Dr. Hayes looked confused. They keep asking about our death world. They want to know how many apex predators we brought with us. Captain Parker frowned. Tell them we're peaceful explorers. We only want to help. The conversation continued for 20 minutes. Finally, they agreed to meet with a small human team in their capital city, but they insisted the humans come alone and bring no weapons. Don't like it, Jake said. Walking into an unknown situation without weapons on a planet under attack. We need to show them we can be Trusted Captain Parker replied, "Jake, you'll lead the contact team. Take Dr. Hayes for translation, Dr. Amy Foster for medical and biological support, and Security Chief Matt Cooper just in case. What about the Korok ships? We'll stay hidden and monitor the situation. If things go wrong, we'll extract you." Immediately, 3 hours later, Jake found himself in a shuttle heading for R. Prime. Dr. Hayes sat beside him still, working on his translation notes. Dr. Foster was checking her medical equipment, and Matt Cooper was trying not to look unhappy about going into danger without weapons. Remember, Jake said to his team, "We're here to learn and help. Stay calm, be respectful, and follow my lead." The shuttle broke through Valor Prime's atmosphere, and Jake got his first close look at an alien world. Air was clean and clear. The gravity felt lighter than Earth's strain. Plants with crystal-like leaves grew everywhere. The cities really did look like they were made of crystal, with buildings that seemed to grow rather than being built, but the beauty was marred by destruction. Entire sections of the city had been reduced to rubble. Burn marks scarred the crystal buildings. Jake could see people working to clean up the damage. They landed in what looked like a park in the center of the city. Tall, graceful trees with silver bark surrounded a clearing where their shuttle touched down. As soon as they stepped out, Jake understood why the Vanni were scared. The gravity on Valor Prime was much lighter than Earth's. What felt normal to the humans made them seem incredibly strong by local standards. When Jake took a normal step forward, he accidentally jumped 3 ft. Instead of walking normally. "Easy, Dr. Foster whispered. "We need to move very slowly and carefully." A group of Alani approached them. Jake's first thought was that they looked like living art. They were tall and thin, with translucent skin that seemed to glow from within. Their faces were gentle and kind, with large eyes that showed intelligence and wisdom. They moved with flowing grace, like dancers, but as they got closer, Jake could see they were terrified. They stayed far back, and their large eyes were wide with fear. One of them stepped forward. When he spoke, Dr. Hayes translated. "He says his name is Zila. It's the leader of this city. He's welcoming us to their world, but... Dr. Hayes paused. "He's asking us to please not hurt them." Jake felt confused and a little hurt. "Tell him we're here to help. We received their distress call." Dr. Hayes translated, and Zephala responded with a long speech. As he talked, other Villani gathered around, all keeping their distance from the humans. "He's saying they're grateful we came, but they're terrified of us. Commander, they've been analyzing the data about Earth that I sent them as a goodwill gesture to them. Earth is a nightmare world." "What do you mean?" Dr. Hayes continued, translating as Zito spoke. He says, "Our world has crushing gravity that would kill them instantly. Our atmosphere is full of a deadly gas called oxygen that burns like acid in their lungs. Our weather includes storms that could destroy their cities. Our oceans are filled with salt poison." Jake looked around at the beautiful, peaceful world of Aura Prime and started to understand. To humans, this place seemed like paradise. Light gravity, clean air, gentle weather, and abundant resources. But two species that evolved here, Earth, would seem like hell. "There's more," Dr. Hayes continued. He says every creature on Earth is built to survive in conditions that would kill most galactic species. He's calling us apex predators from a death world, Matt Cooper whispered to Jake. Are we really that scary to them? Before Jake could answer, Zila continued. Speaking, Dr. Hayes looked shocked as he translated. He's saying that in their studies of galactic civilization, worlds like Earth are rare. Most planets where intelligent life develops are gentle. Places like Valara Prime, species that evolve on worlds like ours, are considered the most dangerous in the galaxy, but we're peaceful explorers. Dr. Foster said quietly. To them, the fact that we can survive on our world makes us incredibly dangerous by definition. Zala spoke again, his voice shaking with emotion. He's asking why creatures from a death world would travel across the galaxy to help strangers. He doesn't understand why apex predators would risk themselves for people they've never met. Jake thought about the question for a moment, then he stepped forward slowly, being careful not to make any sudden movements that might scare the further. Dr. Hayes tell him this. We heard someone calling for help where we come from. When someone needs help and you can give it, you do. It doesn't matter if they're strangers. Doesn't matter if it's dangerous. You help because it's the right thing to do. Dr. Hayes translated Jake's words. Effect on them was immediate. They began talking among themselves in excited, musical voices. Some of them were crying, and Jake hoped those were tears of relief. Zedheba stepped closer to the humans, though he was still clearly frightened. He spoke directly to Jake, saying that maybe the universe sent them the right help. After all, he wants to show us what the Korach have done to their world. He wants us to understand what they're fighting against. Jake nodded. Tell him we're here to learn and to help in whatever way we can. As they followed Zila through the Crystal City, Jake realized that everything had changed. They weren't just making first contact with alien life anymore. They were about to become part of something much bigger than exploration. The humans from the death world called Earth were about to meet the galaxy. Zila led the human team through the Crystal City. Jake Morrison walked carefully, trying not to damage anything. With his death world strength, every step he took seemed too heavy for the delicate world around him. Thay City was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. Buildings grew from the ground like living crystals reaching toward the sky in graceful spirals. Gardens floated in the air, held up by some kind of technology Jake didn't understand. Streams of clean water flowed upward, forming waterfalls that fell into pools of light. But everywhere Jake looked, he saw damage. Some of the crystal buildings were broken and dark. Many of the floating gardens had crashed to the ground. Felani people worked quietly to repair what they could, but Jake could see the sadness in their large, gentle eyes. Dr. Hayes, Jake said quietly, asked Zephylla about the Korach. How long have they been attacking? Dr. Hayes spoke to their guide in the musical Vanni language. Zeptul's response was long and filled with emotion. He says the Korach have been raiding their world for almost a year. They come in waves, taking resources and destroying anything they can't use. The Vanni have tried to negotiate, but the Korach don't seem interested in talking. They reached a large building in the center of the city. It looked like a crystal palace with walls that seemed to sing in the wind, but even this beautiful place showed signs of attack. Scorch marks blackened parts of the walls. Several towers had been broken off. Inside the building, Zala showed them too A room filled with floating screens and holographic displays. Jake realized this was some kind of command center where they were tracking the Korech attacks. Ask him to show us what they know about the Korech, Jake said. Patcha touched one of the floating screens and images appeared in the air above them. Jake saw ships that looked crude and dangerous, covered in spikes and weapons. Ships were much larger than the horizon, but their design seemed rough and unfinished. Then the display showed Korth warriors. Jake was surprised by what he saw. The Korech were bigger than the thick gray skin and powerful arms. They carried weapons that looked impressive but seemed simple compared to human technology. By galactic standards, they were probably considered terrifying warriors. To Jake, they looked like bullies, picking on someone much smaller and weaker. Dr. Amy Foster was studying the images carefully. Commander, look at their body structure. They're strong, but they're built for low gravity environments. Their bones look hollow, like birds. On Earth, they'd be fragile. Matt Cooper was examining their weapons and armor. Those weapons look scary, but I don't think they'd be very effective against our equipment, and their armor is designed to look frightening, not to actually protect them. Dr. Hayes was having a long conversation with Zephylla, learning more about galactic civilization. After 20 minutes of discussion, he turned to Jake with an amazed expression. Commander, I think I'm starting to understand something incredible. According to Zephylla, the galaxy is full of intelligent species, but almost all of them evolved on worlds like Valera Prime, gentle worlds with light gravity, stable weather, and abundant resources. What does that mean for us? Jake asked. It means that by galactic standards, we're not just from a death world, we're practically aliens from another universe. Everything that's normal for us is impossible for them. Zila activated another display, showing Jake images of different worlds throughout the galaxy. Every world looked beautiful and peaceful. Gentle oceans under calm skies, cities that seemed to grow naturally from the landscape, and people who all shared the same graceful, delicate build as the Villani. Hayes, showing me the home worlds of different species. Dr. Hayes continued, translating, the Korech are actually from one of the harshest worlds in the galaxy, and even their world has half the gravity of Earth and weather that never gets worse than a light rain. Jake stared at the images. Are you telling me that in a galaxy full of intelligent species, we're the only ones from a genuinely dangerous world? It looks that way, and Commander, there's something else Zila want to show us there. Warriors, Thay leader led them to another part of the building. Through crystal walls, they could see a large open area where people were training. Jake watched them practice combat movements that looked more like dancing than fighting. These are their best fighters. Dr. Hayes, translated as Zila, spoke with obvious pride. Jake watched the warriors move. They were graceful and skilled, but everything about their combat training was designed for their gentle world. Their weapons were light and elegant. Her armor was beautiful, but thin when they performed their strongest attacks. Jake realized that a human child could probably do more damage. Matt Cooper whispered to Jake, Commander, I don't want to be disrespectful, but I don't think any of these warriors could lift my equipment pack. Dr. Foster was taking medical readings with her equipment. Jake, their bone density is about 1/3 of human normal. Their Muscle mass is designed for low gravity. They tried to function in Earth's gravity, they'd be crushed by their own body weight. Jake was beginning to understand the scope of what they had discovered. Humanity wasn't just meeting alien life, they were meeting a galaxy that had no idea creatures, like humans, could exist. Zala led them to a balcony overlooking the city. In the distance, Jake could see cargo ships moving through the atmosphere, hunting for resources to steal. The beautiful crystal city seemed helpless against the raiders. Dr. Hayes, translated as Zephylos, spoke about his people's situation. He says they've tried everything they can think of. They've offered the Korach resources if they'll leave peacefully. They've tried to hide their cities. They've asked other species for help, but everyone is afraid of the Korach. What about their technology? Jake asked. Their cities are incredible. Surely they have weapons? Dr. Hayes asked, and Zela's response made him look sad. Their technology is amazing, but it's all designed for creation and beauty, not destruction. They have tools that can grow crystal cities and make gardens float in the air, but they never developed anything that could be used as a weapon. Jake looked at the graceful and thought about human history. Humanity had spent thousands of years learning to fight and survive on a world that was constantly trying to kill them. Every human technology had been shaped by the need to overcome hostile environments in dangerous situations. Dr. Hayes asked him about other species. Has anyone in the galaxy ever successfully fought off the Korach? The answer surprised Jake. According to Zela, the Korach had been raiding worlds for decades. No species had ever successfully resisted them. Most planets just gave them what they wanted and hoped they would leave quickly. Commander, Dr. Foster said quietly, I think we need to understand something. We're not just stronger than these species, we're so different that we might as well be from a different universe. Our entire way of thinking about problems is alien to them. Jake thought about the horizon built to withstand the dangers of deep space travel from Earth. He thought about the human crew trained to survive in hostile environments and solve dangerous problems. He thought about human weapons and tactics developed through centuries of warfare and survival. Then he looked at the beautiful, peaceful city being slowly destroyed by raiders who couldn't even survive a day on Earth. Dr. Hayes, Jake said, I need to contact Captain Parker. I think our mission just changed. As Jake called the horizon, he realized they had made the most important discovery in human history. They weren't just the first humans to meet alien life, they were the first species from a death world to meet the gentle galaxy, and that galaxy needed help that only Deathworlders could provide. The Korach ships continued their raids, not knowing that their reign of terror was about to meet something they had never encountered before, something from a world so dangerous that it had created the one thing the galaxy had never seen: warriors who were born ready to fight. Jake Morrison stood in the Horizon's war room with Captain Parker and the senior staff. Through the ship's windows they could see Ara Prime glowing below them. The beautiful crystal cities looked so peaceful, but Jake knew that corridors were still attacking them every day. Report, Commander, Captain Parker said. Jake activated the holographic display, showing everything they had learned about the Vani and the Korach. Captain, we're not dealing with an ordinary first contact situation. We've discovered that Humanity comes from what the galaxy considers an impossible world. By their standards, every human on the ship is practically a superhum. Dr. Hayes stepped forward. It's been studying galactic history with Zala's help. The Korech have been raiding worlds for over 50 years. No species has ever successfully fought them off. They're considered the most dangerous warriors in the galaxy. Captain Parker studied the images of core ships and warriors. What's your assessment, Commander? Honestly, Captain, I think we could stop them easily. Their technology is crude. Their tactics are basic, and they're built for low-gravity environments. The real question is whether we should get involved in a galactic conflict. Engineering Chief Ben Rodriguez spoke up. Captain, I've been analyzing the core ships from our long-range sensors. Their weapons might look scary, but they're designed to fight species that never developed real military technology. Our shields could probably handle their entire fleet at once. Dr. Amy Foster added her observations. From a biological standpoint, the Korech are stronger than other galactic species, but they're still fragile. Compared to humans, their bones are hollow. Their muscles are designed for low gravity. In a fair fight, one human could probably defeat several Korth warriors. Captain Parker was quiet for a long moment. Jake knew she was thinking about their mission and their responsibilities. They were explorers, not soldiers, but they were also the only ones who could help. What do they want from us? She asked. Jake looked at Dr. Hayes, who had spent hours talking with Zila. They're not asking us to fight their war for them. They want us to teach them how to defend themselves. But Captain, they're so peaceful that they don't even understand the basic concepts of warfare. Show me what you mean. Dr. Hayes activated another display. I asked Zephyla to show me their defense plans. They involve hiding their cities and offering the Korech more resources. The idea of actually fighting back is completely foreign to them. Captain Parker studied the information for several minutes. Finally, she made her decision. We're going to help them, but we're going to do this carefully. Jake, I want you to select volunteers from our crew to train defenders. Keep the group small and focus on basic survival skills first. What about the Korech fleet? We'll deal with them when they return. According to the raiders, come back every few weeks for another attack. That gives us time to prepare. 3 days later, Jake found himself in a crystal training facility with 20 Villani volunteers and 5 human instructors. The humans had been carefully chosen for their patience and teaching skills. Sergeant Tony Miller was their fitness instructor, a man who specialized in helping people reach their physical potential. The first training session was both inspiring and heartbreaking. The volunteers were brave and eager to learn, but they had no idea how much they needed to improve. Let's start with basic physical conditioning, Tony said. He had Dr. Hayes translate everything into the musical Villani language. Tony began with simple exercises that any human child could do easily: push-ups, sit-ups, basic running. They tried their best, but within minutes they were exhausted. What humans considered a light warm-up was more than most could handle. And GT, it's harder than I expected, Tony whispered to Jake. I'm going to have to completely redesign our training program. But they didn't give up, even when they were tired, even when the exercises seemed impossible. They kept trying. Jake was impressed by their determination. Over the next week, the training continued. The humans learned to adjust their teaching methods for the gentlemen instead of military-style training. It focused on helping the understand concepts that humans took for granted. Dr. Foster taught them basic first aid and survival skills. The Vanni were amazed to learn that humans routinely survived injuries that would kill most galactic species. When she showed them how to treat cuts and bruises, they stared in wonder at techniques developed on a world where such injuries were common. Matt Cooper taught them about strategy and tactics. This was the hardest part because they no experience with conflict. The idea of planning to hurt someone, even in self-defense, was difficult for them to understand. Dr. Hayes, Matt said during one training session, explained to them that sometimes you have to fight to protect the people you love. Sometimes being peaceful means being strong enough to stop those who would hurt others. Slowly they began to understand they would never become warriors like humans, but they could learn to be more than helpless victims. Meanwhile, Den Rodriguez and his engineering team were working with Vanni scientists to improve their technology. They had incredible abilities to create and build, but they had never thought about making tools that could be used for defense. Look at this, Ben said to Jake as he showed him a Vellani crystal growing device. With a few modifications, this could create barriers and defensive structures in minutes. They have the tools to protect themselves. They just never thought to use them that way. 2 weeks into the training program, Kate Williams detected the return of the Korach fleet. 15 ships dropped out of faster than light travel at the edge of the system and began moving toward Ara Prime. Captain Parker called all senior staff to the bridge. This is it. The Korach are back and they don't know we're here. Are they ready? Jake thought about the past 2 weeks of training. The Vanni volunteers had improved, but they were still far from being warriors. They're better prepared than they were, but they can't face the Korach alone. Then we'll help them. Captain Parker activated the ship's communication system. Attention all hands. And GT, this is your captain. And GT, we came to space to explore and learn. But we've discovered something more important than new worlds. Hey, we found people who need our help. Today we're going to show the galaxy what humans can do. The horizon moved out of its hiding place behind Ara Prime's moon. Immediately the Korach fleet detected them and changed course to intercept incoming transmission from the Korach. Kate reported. Put it on screen. Coriander appeared on the main display. He was large and intimidating by galactic standards, with gray skin and fierce eyes. When he spoke, his voice was deep and threatening. Dr. Hayes translated. He's demanding to know who we are. He's telling us to leave or be destroyed. Captain Parker stood up. Tell him that we're here to protect the Vellani. Tell him that his raiding days are over. The Korach commander's response was immediate and angry. Dr. Hayes looked shocked as he translated. He says no species has ever challenged the Korach successfully. It's calling us soft planet dwellers and promising to destroy us quickly. Soft planet dwellers, Captain Parker repeated with a slight smile. Jake, prepare for combat. Let's show them what soft planet dwellers can do. The Korach fleet began moving into attack formation. Their ships looked dangerous and powerful. As they approached, Jake knew that by galactic standards they were facing the most feared warriors in known space, but Jake also knew something the Korach didn't. They weren't facing another gentle species from a peaceful world, they were facing humans from Earth, a world so dangerous that it had created something the galaxy had never seen before. They were facing Deathworlders were ready to fight. The battle for R Prime was about to begin, and the galaxy was about to learn that there were worse things in the universe than Korach raiders. There were humans who had something to protect. The Korach fleet moved toward the UES horizon with confident speed. Their 15 ships spread out in attack formation, each one bristling with weapons designed to terrify their victims into surrender. For 50 years, this sight had made entire worlds give up without a fight. Captain Lisa Parker watched them approach on the main screen. All stations report ready for combat, she announced calmly. Jake Morrison stood beside her, watching the enemy ships. Captain, they're not even bothering with defensive maneuvers. They think this is going to be easy. Let's prove them wrong. Ben, what's the status on our weapons? Engineering Chief Ben Rodriguez smiled. All systems ready, Captain. Our shields are at full power, and our weapons are targeted on their lead ships. The Korach commander sent another message. Dr. Hayes translated his angry words. He's giving us one last chance to run away. He says his ships will tear us apart and then destroy every city on Valera Prime. Captain Parker's expression hardened. Tell him we have a different plan. The first Korach ship fired its main weapon at the horizon. A beam of energy that could destroy AI City struck the human ships' shields. The crew felt a slight vibration, nothing more. Ben reported, their weapons are exactly as weak as we predicted. Captain Parker nodded. Return fire. The Horizon's weapon struck the Korach ship with precision. The raider vessel built to intimidate rather than withstand real combat exploded immediately. Debris scattered across space as the remaining 14 ships suddenly realized they were in serious trouble. Impossible, Dr. Hayes translated as panic messages flew between the Korach ships. They're saying our ship should have been destroyed by that first shot. The space battle lasted exactly 12 minutes. The Korach ships, designed to fight enemies who had never developed real military technology, were completely outmatched by human engineering. One by one they were either destroyed or disabled by the Horizon's weapons. By the end, only 3 Korach ships remained functional, and they were trying desperately to escape the system. Let them go, Captain Parker ordered. They can spread the word that Valera Prime is under our protection now, but the space battle was only the beginning. Long-range sensors detected Korach ground forces already on the planet's surface. 500 raiders were attacking the crystal cities, expecting easy victory over the defenseless Fanny. Jake, take 50 volunteers and deal with the ground situation, Captain Parker ordered. 50 against 500, Jake asked. Too many. I don't want this to be unfair. Jake smiled. Captain, 50 should be perfect. An hour later, Jake found himself on the surface of Ara Prime with 49 other humans. They wore standard exploration suits and carried basic human weapons. By galactic standards, they were facing impossible odds against the most feared warriors in known space, the Korach Ground forces had taken position outside the largest city, 8. Their crude but effective weapons were pointed at the crystal buildings ready to destroy everything the peaceful aliens had built. Jake studied the enemy positions. Through his suit sensors, the Korach had set up their camp exactly like human military textbooks said not to do. No real defensive positions, no proper guard rotations, no backup plans. They were used to fighting enemies who never fought back. Listen up, Jake said to his team over their communication system. These raiders have been bullying peaceful species for decades. They have no idea what real combat looks like. Stay alert, work as teams, and remember that we're here to protect innocent people. The attack began at dawn. Jake's team moved through the Korach camp like ghosts, using tactics developed on a world where survival meant being better than everything else that wanted to kill you. The first Korach sentry never saw the human who knocked him unconscious. The second sentry raised an alarm, but by then half of his camp was already neutralized. What followed wasn't really a battle, was a demonstration of what happened when species evolved for warfare met species evolved for raiding. Warriors feared throughout the galaxy found themselves facing opponents who moved faster, hit harder, and thought several steps ahead of them. Within 20 minutes, most of the Korach ground force was either unconscious or running for their ships. The few who tried to fight discovered that their weapons, designed to terrorize gentle species, barely slowed down humans in proper armor. Jake captured the Korach ground commander, a large warrior covered in scars from 50 years of successful raids. Through Dr. Hayes's translation, the commander asked a question that would change galactic history. What are you? The Korach leader demanded. No species fights like this. Where do you come from? Jake looked at the defeated raider and thought about his answer. We come from a world called Earth. It's a dangerous place that made us strong. We just learned that the galaxy is full of good people who need protection from bullies like you. The Korach commander's eyes went wide with fear. Deathworlders, he whispered. The legends are true. There really are Deathworlders. After the Korach were defeated, Zephyl called an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council. Representatives from dozens of worlds gathered virtually to hear about the miraculous defense of Aura Prime. Honored delegates, Zephyla began, his voice filled with emotion. We called for help in our darkest hour, and the universe answered, not with another gentle species offering sympathy, but with protectors from a world we could barely imagine. Jake stood beside Zila, still wearing his combat suit. To the assembled galactic representatives, he looked like something from their worst nightmares and their greatest dreams combined. These humans come from what they call Earth, Zila continued. They world so dangerous that every creature on it is built to survive what would kill us instantly. They traveled across space not to conquer or raid, but to help strangers they had never met. The galactic representatives asked many questions. They wanted to know about human technology, human society, and, most importantly, human intentions. Captain Parker, joining the meeting from the horizon, answered their concerns. We're explorers and scientists, came to space to learn and discover, but we've learned that the galaxy has people who need protection, and we're willing to provide it. Over the following weeks, messages arrived from across the galaxy. Worlds offered friendship and trade. Others requested protection from various threats. A few expressed fear of the humans and asked them to stay away. Captain Parker made a decision that would reshape galactic civilization. We're going to establish the Terran Protection Fleet. Any world that needs help defending itself can request our assistance. Jake was promoted to Admiral and given command of the new fleet. Dr. Hayes became the first human ambassador to the Galactic Council. The crew members who had started as simple explorers became teachers, protectors, and bridges between human and galactic civilization. Zedha presented Captain Parker with a gift before the Horizon left, LRA Prime star chart showing the locations of hundreds of worlds throughout the galaxy. Some of these worlds are peaceful and prosperous, he explained, through Dr. Hayes. Others are struggling with problems they cannot solve alone. All of them could benefit from knowing that there are protectors in the galaxy. As the Horizon prepared for its next mission, Jake stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. Each point of light represented entire worlds full of people living their lives, pursuing their dreams, and sometimes facing threats they couldn't handle alone. Kate Williams was already picking up new distress signals from distant systems. Some were asking for help with natural disasters, others were dealing with raiders and criminals. All of them were broadcasting their calls into space, hoping someone would hear. New signal coming in, Admiral Kate reported. It's from a system about 15 light years from here. They're requesting assistance with some kind of technological problem that's threatening their entire civilization. Jake smiled and looked at Captain Parker. Well, Captain, it looks like the galaxy still needs us. Captain Parker nodded. And GT set course for the new system. Let's see what kind of help we can provide. As the Horizon jumped to faster than light speed, Jake thought about how much had changed since they first heard the distress call. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not as conquerors or rulers, but as the friends you called when the situation seemed hopeless. Deathworlders were listening, and they were ready to help.